Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 430. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, living beautifully in Savage, Minnesota, with a now senior who my son just graduated, so we are all relieved from the pressures of junior year.
A senior? He's 65? I thought
absolutely
he was 17.
He can retire, and AARP has put him on their list of people that should use their services. Yes, and the person that's asking these questions is Charlie Carton.
What's up, y'all?
Man, oh man, Charlie, we're in the dog days of summer.
Is that what they call the beginning of summer? I thought that was the end. Because
I think it's tied to like Sirius, the dog star. I think is what it's actually tied to.
Gotcha.
But it's like horribly hot, and it's not bad right now, but
it's good right now. And just looking at the things, as always, this has devolved into weather talk.
Absolutely.
But we're old, and that's what old people do.
We could do the Blame Canada segment. We just talk about their wildfires, but at this point, why rough. Beat up Canada?
They got enough going on, no doubt about it. And we've got plenty going on. Always giving love and thanks to our Patreons. For about 6 months now, we have been producing extra content over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Thanks to the support of these wonderful people. I am, of course, talking about Jamie Prinky over on the Best Buds level, and on our esteemed BFFs level, the Nias family of Sean, Stella, and Henry, my dear friend Missy Merchant, and her friend Andy Milliken. We are grateful for you. And Todd, what else is going on with Patreon these days? That's such big news.
Well, Charlie, you know me. I'm a deal meister. I love the deals. Yes. So we're big fans of free trials on other services just to see, HBO Max, they're doing Disney Plus, whatever. But you know what? Who's doing a free trial now for everyone to check out our podcast content on Patreon? We are. So Patreon now makes it really easy. Just go to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. And actually, before you spend a dime, you can just put select a tier. I believe it's on all tiers. You can just go to that, and you get a free week before you are charged as a listener. So we'd love it if you stick around. But if not, you listen and you're like, I got what I wanted out of it. Share with your friends. Tell them to check out Secret Friends Unite on Patreon.
And do remember, some of our great content does include interviews that I do with my partners, Missy and Kay, which have included Doug Jones, Tara Rosling, and other actors in the Star Wars, Star Trek, and genre universe. I do a great show called The Facts of Geek Life, which talks about classic television programs, a handful of episodes from a particular season. And I have a semi-regular show I do with my wife, April, called A Bad Trip to the Movies with the Cardins, where we slice up a terrible film for your amusement. We've got one coming up called Wing Commander. We're trying to get Todd to join in with us, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yes. That's a movie, I think. I think it's classified as a movie. Maybe not. And then we do Spinner Rack, Charlie and I, and then we brought in guests and everything like that to talk about a specific comic book arc. And it's going to be funny because our next episode, which will be coming out in not this Friday, but the following Friday, will be all about Nick Fury. It'll be a selection of his comic book career and history, because Secret Invasion is coming out at the close to end of June. So we thought it's a good time to give people, how Nick Fury is in the comics versus on the silver screen.
Yes. I think it's actually coming out. Is it coming out the 16th?
I thought it was the 21st.
Oh, I think it's the 16th, but I think it's Friday show. But
I don't know how we'll ever know.
We will find out. You can find out by using the Googs. But one thing you can also find out by using the Googs is this week's cover in our We Got This Covered segment, February 1961, DC Comics Showcase. DC, I'm looking at the logo. DC Superman National Comics is what they were calling themselves at that time.
Yeah, it was a weird thing because DC was Detective Comics. That's what we thought, I think, at the time. So this one was an interesting book. It's Aquaman and Aqualad. It's Showcase Presents. So Showcase was kind of like their title, where it's like Marvel Comics Presents, where they would have a rotating different group of superheroes. They would stay on for a time, and they would pivot off. And they typically had a selection of stories. And this one specifically, it's got a couple things going for it. It's got a great cover. So we'll give it to them. Love that. But it's also the first appearance of Aqualad, which is interesting.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And apparently it's got The Creatures from Atlantis, a 3-part novel, including the origin of Aquaman.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
a novel? 3 novels, 3-part novel, Charlie. Oh.
So no pictures. You just open it up and it's just a bunch of words. I love these creatures. And we were talking in the pre-roll about Jaws, because Todd and I were bouncing off about an upcoming segment of the Facts Geek Life where we talk about Sequest DSV. Very exciting. But these sea creatures, as you can see if you're looking at our YouTube channel, appear to be like some kind of fish bat-like looking creature, but they're bipeds. They have arms and legs, and it looked like they would stand erect on those 2 legs. But
like knockoff Godzillas.
Yeah, tails, and they're purple. But yeah, the faces look very almost like a bat, almost like a chimpanzee. If you look with the big like Homer Simpson looking kind of mouthpiece.
Aqualad agrees, Charlie, because he said, no, Aquaman, you can't attack those weird creatures single-handedly.
Weird. That seems very discriminatory. Does not hold up in this day and age. Shame on you, Aqualad, for
that's what they're saying. When those creatures look at Aqualad, that's what they're saying.
Yeah,
those weird-looking creatures.
Not being very inclusive. Obviously, just looking at things from your own perspective is not very healthy. It's not.
Oh, Charlie, one note before we move on. You notice the super huge comics code is right there in the corner. But did you notice in Across the Spider-Verse, they also had the comics code, which I thought was hilarious.
I 100% dead ass think that the comics code is just not a thing anymore.
I think you pay for it. Like it was just something you had to pay to be part of it. So, and I don't know. And there was people like that used to be like the practices and standards people.
Right.
But quite honestly, I don't know how often they actually did their job.
I just don't honestly think that even when it was a thing, I don't.
Wouldn't it be awesome to find somebody that actually worked at that office and ask them all these questions?
God. Oh, geez.
That would be a fantastic interview.
My goodness. You know what?
Goodness.
Hey, out there on Twitter, if you're listening to us, we are, of course, at Secret Friends U. Hit us up. If you, for some reason, know anyone who's ever been involved with the actual Comics Code Authority, we would love to hear about that. We will absolutely dedicate a program to that. So anyway, barring that, if nobody gets in touch with us about that, potentially our senior news correspondent who has been reporting the news since the early 1900s, I'm talking about Madam Webb, maybe she can find something for us. I mean, she has sources far and wide, but she's these days down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, bringing us the hottest scoops in her news segment. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. I believe, Charlie, that Madam Webb actually was fined by the Comics Code Authority.
Oh, no.
Yes, she was a comic book writer back on Little Lulu back in the day. And unfortunately, her proposed story of Little Lulu makes a drug deal was apparently not approved by the Comics Code. So Little
Lulu gets shanked in an alleyway.
And they had to change it to makes a lemonade stand deal. So
there you go.
Yes, I don't know. I think it was like 20 cents back then, but you know what? She's still bitter after all those years.
Dealing drugs out of a lemonade stand, not super cool. All right, what do we got up first?
Yes, so first story is after the rousing success of the Super Mario Brothers movie, which now is, I believe, at $1.3 billion, the highest ranking video game movie now of all time. Not easy to do, or easy to do, because the high bar from that was Warcraft, a movie that was not great in the States, but made a lot of money overseas. But now I believe because of that, Nintendo wants to go all in on their Nintendo Cinematic Universe, as we're calling it, I guess. And it's funny, the owner of Nintendo, or the I guess the creative genius Miyamoto, he doesn't call his creations like creations. He calls them he calls them the cast of Nintendo. So he almost treats them like they're actors, which I think is funny.
Right. The universe of stars, like back in the old day. Back in the old day, how certain actors or actresses would be beholden to a studio, Universal or RKO,
or they'd be called Paramount, TV's right. Scott Bakula, like he was owned by TV,
right?
Which I thought was weird.
Battle of the Network Stars. Remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
If you were on a network, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we are hearing that Universal also wants to be in the Nintendo business. Makes a lot of sense. They did very well. Illumination is their animation studio. They have had a close relationship. That's why Super Mario Brothers movies worked, because they were not going to let anything go out the door that didn't fit Nintendo's vision, kind of like the old Super Mario Brothers movie, and also the really horrible Legend of Zelda cartoon back in the day, where Link was known to say things like "Excuse me, princess." I mean, totally like things you're like, oh boy, this is a bad sitcom.
That seems like it should be followed by a laugh track. Ooh,
it kind of was back in those, but that's what's like 80s cartoons weren't good. We know that. So, but for some reason, Nintendo holds a grudge like 30 years later. But apparently their next movie they would like to dig into is The Legend of Zelda. So, Charlie, I don't know if you know much about the franchise.
Maybe
it's
maybe
largely
a little bit.
It's Link is your hero. He is essentially a link to the player. That's why his name was Link. So that was kind of clever. And then Princess Zelda is the Legend of Zelda. So everybody's always thinking, Zelda's not a boy. No, Zelda is the princess. And I don't know why they call it the Legend of Zelda. It's really the Legend of Link. But regardless of that, Link is a silent protagonist. At most, Charlie, all he said when he's in a video game is, I mean, that's it. He doesn't have any dialogue.
It was like those old Lego video games before they started looping in dialogue. They would just go,
Absolutely. You're 100% right. Like there'd be like, oh, Link's going to explain the situation. He just stares there and looks at the person. And the person like 3 seconds later go, oh, that's good to know that the princess is in another castle. It's like, what?
So he was a mute telepath. He was like,
I'm guessing that's one of his abilities. But I always thought it was weird because awesome. Like as Legend of Zelda has gotten more cinematic, has gotten more like, they've finally given some people voices, but not all the time. It's very weird. And Link still doesn't have a voice. So it's very weird. So if we're going to make a Legend of Zelda movie and they want to be beholden to everything that's ever happened on video game screen, I'm just curious if they will go forward and give Link a voice, or we'll keep it as it has been, and he won't have a voice, like a silent protagonist. Or will they do part way, like kind of like a character like The Witcher, where he's a man of few words, or other characters, that are men of few words, like Dirty Harry or something like that. So I don't know how that will go. But
do you feel lucky? Insert name of character here, since I don't know any.
Exactly. Ganon? No.
There you go.
But Ganon, and Ganon's going to be voiced by like some goofy person. And this is Nintendo fans' worst fear, Charlie, is like they'll get like Kevin Hart as Link. And,
God! Oh,
exactly.
And Dwayne Johnson and throw out another name of something. John Cena. It'll be all
exactly.
Of them.
Or even like
Kevin Hart. Oh my God!
Because I think that's what people are. Well, because that was when the Super Mario Brothers movie came out. Like Chris Pratt as Mario, people just couldn't believe it. Oh, it's Jack Black and all these other Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. So people were like fearing the worst, and obviously it worked pretty well. So I'm wondering. I'm thinking of, Charlie, other silent protagonists in genre, and the one that comes to my mind is Snake Eyes, right?
Sure, and boy, did that not work on the big screen.
Because what did they do, Charlie? What did they do with Snake Eyes?
They made it a regular, boring ass, vanilla, like action ninja movie. That had absolutely nothing to do. There were no elements of that character in that movie at all. If you follow the only origin he has is the Larry Hama written origin. Larry Hama also very shamelessly had a walk-on cameo in that, and then on all his social media was like, "Oh my God, you got to go see this movie." I've met Larry Hama. I like Larry Hama very much. I enjoyed spending time with him.
Larry Lama.
Larry Lama. This was that's going back a couple years, and I talked about it at the time. Wow, not a great film, but anyway.
But we did get one issue of G.I. Joe, which I remember was very iconic, where it was a silent issue with Snake Eyes as a protagonist.
Issue 21. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So so we haven't seen really a great movie where the protagonist is silent. What is it? Jay and Silent Bob? I mean, Silent Bob does have the one thing to say typically in a movie. Typically he's like limited to like one line or something like that, except for the last movie, which, he was very verbose in that. But with that, my own hope is it is a different tone than the Super Mario Brothers movie, because that was very much like you remember that? You remember that, kids? You remember that, kids? It was kind of the member berries of a movie, which is, they did it well. But with Zelda, I don't think you can do that, because it's a much more serious tone. It is in fantasy adventure with some tragedy and things. So I hope they take the right approach and they don't shy away from giving him a voice, because guess what, Nintendo? They actually hire people that are great voice directors. They can hire great actors who are unknown that can do well in the part. So trust them. Don't trust the guy who designed Donkey Kong because he thought Mario was his neighborhood plumber. That's a true story.
Right.
That's how Mario, because Miyamoto had a plumber named Mario.
Oh,
You're in my game. That was his background story.
That's like George Lucas and his Alaskan Malamute named Indiana. There, that's exactly where that came from. So,
absolutely.
All right. What do we got moving on? Oh, this is exciting. I love talking about this. Now, I have talked time and again how my lovely wife April is and has been her entire life a huge Stephen King fan. And then Todd, you dropped this one on me. You had a source article that said, "Yeah, you need to go see this right away," and listed no date. So I'm like, or where I would find it. But there's a documentary coming out about the life and times of famed novelist Stephen King, who is, I believe, his first novel was Carrie, dropped in the early 70s. So that's now 50 years gone by, 50 years of writing. It says upwards of 80 books. But it actually did find out that this documentary, which is pretty much comprised of interviews with other filmmakers who he's worked with, who's influenced him, including Frank Darabont, who gave us The Walking Dead and then got dropped from it. Not Tom Holland, not Spider-Man. The Langoliers, we watched that not that long ago. Cool story, really bad TV movie from 1995. Mick Garris, who did the recent version of The Stand. Taylor Hackford, who is a big action director in the 80s and 90s. Did Dolores Claiborne and Ray? That's not one of his movies. Did he have a version of Ray?
Yes, it was the NC-17 horror slasher torture porn version of his history.
Well, we also have great interviews in here by and some folks posthumously interviews with Greg Nicotero, who's a creature feature guy, Walking Dead. Dee Wallace, who is the star of Cujo, the mom. The late Tim Curry, needs no introduction, and Jimmy Caan. This is great. This will have a limited theatrical release on August 11, and then will be available for purchase on digital and Blu-ray in September. So I am all over this. This seems fantastic. I love Stephen King. I always make the joke, and April rolls her eyes. I said, "Oh, a new Stephen King project? What Maine town with a sheriff and a preacher is this set in?" Because that is the setting of damn near almost anything he does. But you know what? That's okay. It's like M. Night Shyamalan and anything in and around Metro Philadelphia. That's where you can find his stuff. You're right. What you know.
I will be curious to see if Stephen King truly was involved in this, or it's truly just about him. Because Stephen King has had a rocky relationship with the people that have brought his visions to screen. Yeah, the most famous is The Shining. Oh God, yes. I mean, that movie. Everyone loved it except for Stephen King.
Right, exactly.
It's acclaimed.
You know what, Todd? You could almost say that he is the Todd Oxtra of his own work, the iconoclast, the one who says everybody loves blank Star Wars. Todd says, I don't think I love blank Star Wars, and that's fine. But it would suck if it was your own work. You're like, well, that's not what I meant by that. But You're right. Everybody who doesn't love The Shining? Have you met anybody else who doesn't like that movie? I don't think so.
I can't, and it's a kind of Shelley Duvall, although I guess maybe she doesn't either because she was that film.
Deeply emotionally abused by God. Who's the director? Very famous dude. Kubrick.
It's Kubrick,
and the late Stanley Kubrick, who was a legendary director, but apparently, like many artists and auteurs, not a great guy. But it happens. But yeah, I can't wait for this. And again, that we're due to get this
streaming. I don't know if that means it's just VOD on demand. Like you buy it.
I don't know. It's entirely possible it could end up somewhere for a regular streamer, but that might be years.
I expect it'll go to Shudder probably because they they're the horror channel, and you get them you get Shudder content on AMC Plus, which I think is like $5 a month or something like that. It's not expensive.
AMC Plus and Stars are bundled right now, or at least they were recently through Amazon Prime, which we picked up because Walking Dead and then Outlander is going to be back. Todd, the show you'll never watch, but my wife loves. Oh my goodness. So anyway, I'm very excited for that. So we will see that come August and or September. Todd, this next one is all you. Hits very closely to home too. Not that you talk a lot. Not that you talk a lot about what you do for a living, because we try to be a little guarded, but still.
Yes.
Go for it.
This is my cheap chill moment of the podcast. I really do this. I don't want to say one thing or not about the company I work for. I work for General Mills, who makes many iconic brands. Think of all the cereals, Old El Paso, Nature Valley, things like that. But when it's something that I loved before I joined the company, I'm still into it. I've always loved the General Mills mascots. Their characters like Lucky the Leprechaun, Buzzbee, all of those characters. But one of my favorites has always been the monster cereals. I just thought they were so cool, so fun playing with all these things.
Frankenberry and not Count Chocula, yeah.
Count Chocula, Blueberry. We had Fruit Brute, we had Yummy Mummy, and those two kind of went away. And
Fruit Brute was really legendarized by a quick appearance in Pulp Fiction. A commercial you saw on TV.
That's
and
right.
Todd, it just throws me right back to thinking about those classic itchy and scratchy characters like Disgruntled Goat, Rich Uncle Skeleton, Adam Ant.
Adamant, yes. Which I thought when we have the song writer and singer Adam Ant, I always think of, it's Adamant. He's adamant.
I'm very adamant that I want money.
Yes.
Anyway,
I love
this is fun.
Yes.
So what do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, so the monsters have typically had those 5 characters over their, so long, 35 years. The brand has basically been doing this. And they went from being around all year round to just seasonal, which is the right move because who wants monster cereals in February? Nobody. So, and they've done some things over the years. They keep reinventing the brand. And what they're doing this year is kind of a milestone. It's very iconic. This is the first time they are creating a new monster that is also a female monster, which is about time.
I'm just reading ahead of this bio. This is awesome, if I might.
Yes.
Her name is Carmela Creeper, first new character in 35 years, long lost cousin of Frankenberry, as well as a zombie DJ with an edgy sound who is always the life of the party. Now, Todd, April and I gave up eating cereal a number of years ago. We eat a very strict diet. In the morning we'll have eggs, we'll have oatmeal, we'll have protein, whatever, maybe yogurt, but this is kind of tempting to just get
it's a treat. Yeah, it's a treat once in a while.
Get a very small box of this. Now you see her now. So her brand is going to be Monster Mash Remix cereal. So she's on the.
She will have her own cereal. It's going to be Caramel Creeper. Okay. It's caramel apple cereal. So that's kind of a different flavor than we've had before. That's interesting. And they are also doing something they brought back. They brought out about 7 years ago, called Monster Mash. And it's essentially where they put all of the cereals together in one box, which is very fun.
It's kind of one of these oops, all crunch berries kind of deals.
Kind of, yeah. And they're calling it the remix because, she's a DJ and we've got all the monsters back again. So,
oh my God. This is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And they've done lots of media. Yeah. And if you go back the history of monsters, but one of my favorite bits, Charlie, is there was a Daily Show bit. Stephen Colbert was at the time he was a correspondent, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And
so way back.
He thought there was a conspiracy or something about why you couldn't find Blueberry. So it's so hilarious. He just goes to stores finding it, and he's like trying to be undercover, where he's got like a hat with a camera, but it's like a cowboy hat.
like in the courtroom in The Simpsons. I'm a reporter. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Do I have to take my hidden camera with me? Would you mind? And it's a guy wearing a 10-gallon hat. Sticking out front.
It's so great. And I will say, if you are into Halloween stuff like this glitchy stuff, there's a website I go to. It's called Dinosaur Dracula. It's absolutely hilarious. They really get into the season. They talk about all the different offerings for spooky time, and they do a Purple Stuff podcast, which is just that type of discussions. They're very good. Check them out. They're all over this. They typically get samples to try and have things. So, but I love this. So this should be out. Knowing the production cycling, this will most likely start going out in September to stores, so it's time for spooky time. And then it's typically it's on discount after October 31st.
Oh boy, discounted, not yet expired cereal. I am
exactly.
All over. Now, Todd, can you score us some samples, or did they hook you up, or not so much?
Not any longer, but typically they would bring in samples to the headquarters and give away boxes to employees. So that's
right. See what turns out. All right, I'm moving on to the next story. Now, I will admit, with the caveat that I'm trying to report this somewhat unbiasedly, because I know for a fact this is kind of where we become shills to our sponsors. I know very much for a fact that both Missy and Jamie Prinke are such big fans of Hocus Pocus that they I know just even earlier this year they attended a con, basically a convention event where Doug Jones and Lee Ehrenberg and a lot of the other people that we've talked to on our shows were in attendance in celebration of
what role
Hocus
did Lee
Pocus.
play in that? I can't remember.
Now I'm drawing a blank. But I feel like he was involved in some fashion. I feel bad we did that interview, and I have a signed photo of Lee behind me. If you can see it, do you see it there? It's all the way in the back, all the way in the back corner, because he was at that event, and Missy got that for us, and it says to Fleet Captain Charlie Carden. That was my rank at the time, and Captain April Carden. It said Ferengi's Rule, and it's a picture of him as a Ferengi from an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Super cool guy. Oh my gosh! But anyway, that is an interview that is on our Patreon. If you happen to grab that free trial, you can check it out. But anyway, Hocus Pocus 2 came out on Disney Plus either earlier this year or at the end of probably last Halloween, if I'm not mistaken, because when the hell else would it come out, right? And now there is I personally was not a fan. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one. Again, it was 1993. I was 17. I was in high school. I was never a big Disney. We weren't a big Disney household. Todd, I don't know about you, but we were a Star Wars, Star Trek, G.I. Joe, some, Transformers. We were Marvel Comics. That was our household. That's what we enjoyed. So the Disney movies, the animated Little Mermaid, and Aladdin and stuff, that was not really the vibe between my brother and I and my mom here in this house. But Todd, where did you stand with Hocus Pocus back then? You were getting out of high school. Where was it on your radar?
Yeah, it was really not on my radar either. I know it existed. I think I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, that looks cute. And never thought of it again. Then I got married, and a lot of females. And I mean, there's guys too, but it's very big within a certain community that loves the spooky, the Nightmare Before Christmas, that type of kind of that. It's kind of like, it's more spooky than scary, as I would call it. It's very whimsical. In it, kind of with the dark tone. So, I finally did see the first movie because I only saw bits and pieces as my wife would watch it. Never really paid attention, so I finally saw that. And then, or maybe I didn't. I can't remember. That's how bad it is, Charlie. I don't remember if I actually even saw the whole thing. Well, but I know parts of it. But the second one I did watch, and it was a movie.
You know what?
It was a movie.
And again, I think much like many things genre related, Star Wars is a great version of it. Star Trek is a great version of it. There is a lot of, like you say, nostalgia gaggles. Gaggles. Maybe even more so when you have a single film from 30 years ago and you bring back a second one. Your diehards, and like I said, I'd never met someone who is a die-hard fan of that film until Missy and I became close friends, and then I met Jamie through her. My God, they absolutely love it. It's religion to them, and you know what?
Absolutely,
mad respect for that. But yeah, for me, watching the second film, I was like, it just didn't click with me. So anyway,
it played to played to fans and also a younger crowd. So I think it's trying to hit both of those things. Yeah.
Right. Now it's being announced that a third film is being produced or being talked about with the second film's director, Ann Fletcher, and its writer, Jen D'Angelo. Now, this is news that says, oh gosh, we're shooting for an October 2024 release. Not saying that if the original stars both films, Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker would be involved, but let's not forget that nothing is being written right now.
No,
so I think
unless they wrote it at the time, unless they wrote the third movie while they were making this movie.
But again, it's being announced that this is being developed, not that it's been produced. So I think their projection for this being out in 2024 might have to be amended to 2025. But regardless, it is being made at some juncture. And to Missy and to Jamie and to Andy Milliken, our other great Patreon, and everybody else who loves Hocus Pocus, we here at Secret Friends are always very dedicated to loving what you love, to not yucking other people's yum, even though sometimes we fall a little bit off that wagon. I'd like to think that we always find our way back. So if this news is exciting to you, you know what, as content creators, as people of the world, journalists of the genre, it's our job to simply bring you the news, even if we spin it a little bit too heavily. But you know what, get excited because this is apparently happening. So button up. And of course it will be on Disney Plus, which everybody has anyway. Okay.
Absolutely.
Todd, last story show I have not watched. Is this a Todd show? Have you seen like an episode? or did you watch the whole thing?
I've seen almost the whole first season. It's a book series I know very well. It's a cool collaboration. So Good Omens is a book series collaboration between Neil Gaiman and I believe it's Terry Pratchett, I believe was the other writer. And it's essentially a very fun story, kind of tongue-in-cheek. That's what a lot of Terry Pratchett stuff is. He does the Discworld thing. So he's passed along. But and it's all about basically the end of the world and it's about a friendship, and I'd say a troublesome friendship between an angel and demon. And
oh my God, Todd, it's you and me.
yeah, and the cast is great. Like John Hamm, he plays the upper management of heaven, and then we've got Michael. I'm always blanking on his name.
Michael Sheen,
who's been many different roles. He's a very fine actor. He plays the angel, and as Raphael is the name of him. And then
that looks like that 100% looks like a prescription drug to cover cholesterol.
Exactly.
As a Raphael to you.
Yeah. And then the demon Crowley is played by David Tennant. This alone is worth it just to see these two actors on screen together doing their thing. They're full in. It's got a good sense of humor. It kind of reminds me of a more humorous type of Doctor Who type of thing. Yeah. And they just go through time and you see their relationships and kind of trying to avert essentially the Antichrist from coming. And let's just say, Charlie, mistakes are made along the way. And it's very good. And so it's a great show. It's on Amazon Prime. First season's already out. And then this comes out July 28th. Okay. And I don't remember how they drop. They don't do the all at once, but they may do a couple or a few.
They did like the most recent Amazon Prime show that I was absolutely crazy about, which was Daisy Jones and the Six. They did it so weird. It was like 4, 2, 3, 2. It was I just like, why? So the whole thing was out in a month, and it was like I mean, I don't know. It could have been stretched out. I understand that, like, episodes 2 and 3, or episodes 5 and 6, definitely it's a plus to see them all at the same time. But I don't know.
It's weird because like both Amazon and Apple. Yeah, that's not their main business. Their main business is selling ads and selling devices, whereas everybody else they're just selling content. So I think they're in the like it and the thing. Look, we can do whatever we want because people are getting their groceries delivered, all that stuff.
Oh my God, Amazon it is really they just couldn't do it. They could probably sell that series and get people to watch a series of like the burning Yule log fireplace at Christmas time.
Pretty much, the haunted Yule log at Halloween.
Yeah, there you go. So this looks like fun. This might actually get me to.
I think you should watch. I think it's very light. The episodes aren't too long, and I think it's light in nature. So it's not like and there's not a big like I have to know anything about this franchise. It's essentially it is what it is.
Good deal. I like it. Well, cool. Well, hey, that is the end of the news. Todd, time to pack it up. Get out that feeble Uber app. I think it's your turn to pay. But we've got to get down to Scuggsville, Nasty Town. The Geek Easy awaits for us to talk about things we're enjoying in the last 7 days. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy. Cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are getting ready to rock with what we've been geeking out about. So, Charlie, kick us off.
Oh my gosh! So I took a huge step forward in my nerdedom of actual cred this week. Friend of the show and Todd, friend of ours. We've met him both at C2E2. Talking about Kurt Krug. He's a member of he's a member of my crew on the Grand Petoskey. We were all at Michigan State at the same time, though. I would be challenged to remember if we ever met. I can't even really remember how we met in modern day. But anyway, he's a cool dude, Detroit based. He is a freelance journalist and he has all kinds of ties with the big studios, does a lot of screeners for movies, does a lot of screeners for TV shows. He's been trying for about a better part of a year to hook me up with the kind of stuff that he does, because I have a background in journalism too. Even though I'm not quote unquote practicing, even though I do this, I'm not, writing columns and getting published and that kind of stuff. It's just not my world in this day and age. But he was successful after 4 or 5 attempts with different people at Paramount Viacom in getting me set up with screeners for Star Trek shows, and he was successful. I got a screener earlier this week that contains the first 6 episodes of Strange New Worlds season 2, and I was elated. It was cool. And Todd, I was breaking it down for you, the process. The way screeners work, at least in this instance, is that I got a link from the Paramount Viacom people. And from now on, you will see me wearing a Star Trek badge probably in every recording I do to show my appreciation and respect for Paramount Viacom for the what they've invested in me. I'm very grateful. The way
Charlie's not biased at all.
That's okay. No, none of it. You know what? When you're a journalist, no, you report fairly. It's exactly what we were just talking about.
But I don't think you're actually supposed to rep anything, though, as a journalist to show your non-bias.
But
kind of like how they say Charlie Carden is owned by the Paramount Plus Corporation.
But I mean, if you wear a Star Trek shirt or a Star Wars shirt, doesn't that somewhat imply some kind of something? If you're
now you just have to wear blank t-shirts, Charlie. That's what it is now. Just blank t-shirts.
That is actually what I did last time, which is funny because the way, if I don't tilt my camera down, you just kind of get my head. But anyway, the screener is super cool. It's all done via a regular app on your streaming device. So Roku had a Paramount Global Streamers app. I created an account. Sitting on my account were these 6 episodes. And Todd, I was describing it to you in the pre-roll. Each episode, you get 10 total viewings of it. You can pause as you're watching it, but if you leave the app and come back, that counts as one view. So you can't be like, because I found that out, we watched half of the second episode of these 6, and then I came back and like, oh crap, I got to start it again. And it was the first episode, used up my viewing. So the first 3 episodes covered stuff you've seen in the trailer. You know, you see Spock with the Klingons, you see the adventure with Kirk and La'an, in what looks like a modern day setting. The second episode is the trial of Una Chin Riley, which you saw in the most recent trailer. So my responsibility as someone viewing these screeners is not to share with you details. Unfortunately, the things that I just dropped, you've already seen them, but I'm super excited. I'm trying to pace myself, but I will tell you by the end of the weekend, I will have watched all 6.
That app is burning a hole in your pocket.
I mean, I will tell you, just as a global overview, this season already far superior to the first season.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a high bar.
I think that, and again, this covers 6 weeks of content. There's a total of 10 episodes. I have heard, but I don't have confirmation, that the 7th episode is the much celebrated Lower Decks crossover, where we're going to get Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid as their characters on that show. And once you're set up for a screener, you just get the next one. So I'll be watching that one probably. I'm not sure when, but I'm super excited. Extra special shout out to Kurt Krug for hooking me up with that. He did also actually hook us up with a celebrity interview with actress Elizabeth Dennehy, which you will be hearing on the Personnel Files on our Patreon in about a month's time. So
yeah.
Kurt, you are a Secret Friends Unite superstar. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Salute you with the wrong hand.
The wrong hand. All right, and to shift gears, I'm kind of excited about this. This will be the 3rd one of these that I back, and it's one of those that, with Hasbro, for example, who makes, you can't really see you see some of my figures behind me, but the most of them on the other side of the camera. I've been a figure collector for about 10 years, and again, many of our generation enjoyed action figures, but playing with them as kids, as they're actually intended. But whatever. Hasbro in the last 4 years, and Todd, you and I had a spirited debate, of which I ended up on the losing end of it, with the very first crowdfunded Hasbro HasLab project, which was about, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago, was the 3 3/4 scale Katana, which was Jabba the Hutt sailing barge. I said, oh God, there's no way. Todd said, there's no way this is not going to be successful. And it was successful. We have 2 friends in our inner circle that own one. Yes, Todd's waving.
Trying to think of what's the victory thing where you oh yeah, I don't know, what is it?
Oi! I have no idea.
Back in the day, remember if you were highly successful?
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, we have 2 friends in our inner circle that have them. John Sear owns one of those, and my figure collecting partner, Derek, who is here locally in the Grand Rapids area. So anyway, I did finally cave when the 3 3/4 GI Joe, because I'm a huge GI Joe fan. The Sky Striker came along. Those were made with the classic O-ring figures. I have that. You can see it behind me here. Watch me tilt. There it is behind me if you're watching us on YouTube. I did sponsor the wildly popular 6-inch scale G.I. Joe Classified series, His Tank, which I should be receiving. It was about a year ago. I should be receiving that this fall. And the HasLabs are exciting in so much that the more successful they are, the more that you're going to get out of your investment. So the Hiss Tank, for example, started with, and really the Sky Striker as well, started with the basic item. First tier ended up with the Hiss Tank getting you a bunch of extra accessories that go on it, but also a figure. The next tier was another figure, and then the final tier with the Hiss Tank was a classically scaled, not currently available at all, classic Cobra Commander with the dome helmet, which I'm very excited about. So this new one, which I immediately jumped on there and funded, is shifts over. It's still classified line, so 6-inch scale. Shifts over to the G.I. Joe side as opposed to Cobra. The Dragonfly, the classic helicopter, that's based on, what is it? Is that based on, what's the style of helicopter, Todd? I mean,
it's oh shit. Sorry for the language. Apache?
Yeah, it's an Apache helicopter. Anyway, from the classic 1983, so second generation of the G.I. Joe line, it's the Dragonfly, piloted by Wild Bill, his code name, William Hardy. So it's out there now. It came out just earlier this week, Todd, because I said, oh my God, it's already taken off. I went ahead and jumped on. They needed 10,000 backers to jump into production. They got that in the first, I think, 18 hours, and now they're building on it. So I checked it just before we got on here. They're at about, I've been saying it in percentages because it's easy to figure out. They're at about 123%. When they hit 130%, you get your first unlock, which is, Todd, it's so weird. It unlocks the character Ripcord, which was from Gen 3, the 1984 series. Ripcord had his own arc in the comics. Larry Hama liked this character. He gave him his own story arc, which if you're a reader of the comics, you know what I'm talking about. But he is a halo jumper, high altitude, low opening. And actually, if you look back at the Sky Striker, I have the O-ring version of him as well. He's right. So it's the same version of that one. He's just a jumper. And then the third and fourth unlocks, which they'll give us at 160% and 190%, are currently unknown. They're actually holding those back, which I think is kind of cool, but it makes me insane. I would like to believe that I would think in the next day or so, they're going to hit that 130% mark, and then we'll see what the next unlock is. But these are fun. I mean, I have space for it on my shelves. I'm already looking that G.I. Joe, the figure, will have to move to a top shelf because the Sky Strike or the Dragonfly is going to come with a stand, but the thing itself is like 34 inches long. It's big. So, and again, the Hiss Tank is going to show up soon as well, so that'll have to go. So I'll just have to shift stuff around. But, it's cool. But again, people are like, oh God, well, why would they sell it for, 180, 280 bucks, 300 bucks, whatever it is. This is all, it's all fun.
It's what people will pay.
It's collectible, and it's what people will pay. If you have a strong moral objection about it to you, I respect that. Don't buy it. But you know what? Don't cast aspersions on those of us who do.
I do have
a
thought on this, Charlie. I was trying to think of because it seems weird that it's it's almost like it would be the opposite way. Like if you're an early adopter, you get all the stuff. So it's almost like to get people in the door quick.
Now,
if you wait, you get less stuff. Yeah,
they did. And it was either with the Sky Striker here or it was with the Hiss. And I'd have to go back and read it, but there was one of those, hey, if we hit this mark by this date, then it jumped forward and it did something. It's something extra, because if you look at it, and I have them, I'd have to tilt the camera up, but I saved all the cards because this Sky Striker came with like 8 figures. But it was you're absolutely right. One of those was, hey, if we hit X by X date, then boom, this is unlocked. But if we don't, blah, and then it moved on, and they reorganized it a certain way. Now,
it's so weird. Because more people got it, now we're giving you more. It's just so weird. I don't know why. Maybe it's because to do those things, they need more money. Well, I'm guessing.
One would imagine, but again, it's like, hey, how many more people can we get interested in this? Because you've hit the mark, so you're getting the vehicle plus the pilot. Now you've hit this, so you're getting somebody to sit in the back seat who's also versus now.
Some of them have failed, so I'm wondering if that stuff had been up front, would it have done better? I don't know.
Well, yeah, and the most famous one that failed that we certainly here on this show, and then between our other secret friend John Sear, who was kind of not really in the figure collecting life anymore, but then again, my friend Derek, we have a chat between the three of us, and then Todd, you were certainly a part of this as well, just ravaging their the Rancor HasLab one, which failed because the unlocks were just absolutely dreadful. Oh, it's a cardboard this plus some bones, like it had like a skull of a tauntaun, which made no sense as an accessory. Why would a Rancor have eaten a tauntaun? That makes no sense. Well, I mean, seriously, what? It's just, they're just like, here's a thing
Charlie,
we can make up.
we get seafood from the Pacific Ocean in Minnesota because we like to eat exotic things.
Yeah, okay,
Rancor does too.
Rancor is getting shipments from Hoth of Tauntaun.
Yes.
No, I'm not buying it. I mean, I know Jabba had a lot of money, but that's
only the finest things for my Rancor.
For my Rancor. No wonder he was so pissed when Luke killed it off. But anyway. I'm excited about this. If you'd like to check this out and get on board as well, simply visit the Hasbro or Hasbro Pulse and then click on HasLab and you can jump in the mix. We're getting close to that first unlock. So, all right, I've talked for a long time, so I'm going to go very quickly through this next one because, again, there are 3 episodes left. I think we've watched 1.5 of them, but Superman and Lois over on the CW, which is available on the CW app, streaming with commercials, has been canceled, if I'm not mistaken, or they're awfully close, or it's rumored.
We don't know if that's the last one that they haven't announced, because I know Riverdale and some of those shows, Nancy Drew, are all wrapping up like their final season, and we know they're out the door. But yeah, I don't know about. I'm assuming this is dead too.
Yeah, I feel like it is. And this is in the 2nd season of it. But again, for those of you who like, you loved Arrow or The Flash, or certainly Smallville was the big one for April and I. Again, I'm a Marvel guy, but who doesn't love Superman? It's Superman. And Smallville helped all of us of a generation, even though that came out in the early aughts when Todd and we weren't teenagers anymore. And it was a show about a teenage Superman. It still really caught us. And I've watched that series through.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe 1.5 times. But anyway, Superman and Lois is great. It's about exactly what you would expect. It's, Superman and Lois Lane after they've been married for 15, 17 years. They've got 2 teenage sons and all the adventures that happen when they end up back in Smallville when, Martha Kent passes away. And yeah, it's what you would expect. It's not high poetry. It is based on Superman, and the plot lines are pretty elemental. The villain in this last half of the 2nd season is played by Chadwick Coleman, who was Tyrese in the early seasons of The Walking Dead. Yeah. So, and it turns out his wife is a super villain, and it's just sorry for the spoilers, but if you're not watching it now, you're not going to be watching it.
I fell off the show. I mean, it seemed good, and everyone seems to have an affinity for it. It's just one of those things where it's like, is the CW going to be around? It doesn't really connect to some of the things.
Yeah,
and so it's like,
yeah, it's hard to invest in. And again, that Superman character version of was introduced in Supergirl. But again, it was one of those it's not on my Earth, so blah, blah, blah. And then all the characters cross over. So that's, I think, Tyler Hoechner playing Superman. And
he does a good job.
He's got a good look. The 5 o'clock shadow on the guy acts like he must shave, but he always has a 5 o'clock shadow, so he doesn't really shave. So one of these guys that their facial hair grows to a certain level, and it's just always the same. Like Roy Kent on Ted Lasso.
It's like a Flowbee for your beard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that one setting, you always have it.
Yeah, exactly correct. So anyway, over there on the CW app for you to check out. And again, I think all episodes are out now because we're on 9 of.
Well, and they go to HBO Max now too, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to worry about the CW and no commercials.
That would be Max, Todd.
Oh, that's true.
That is
true. Well, there's
HBO
on Max, so it's fun.
That's right. Or on Prime. Okay, so that's it for me. What do you got?
So the newest thing I watched is called Fubar. This is a series on Netflix. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger's first foray into a television series. This is essentially True Lies Retirement Edition, but instead of just Arnold being the secret spy, we find out in the first episode, it's not really even a surprise. It's part of the premise and trailers. His daughter is also a spy, and he knew nothing about it.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's essentially he's about to retire, and it's, and he gets brought back in because he has to rescue an operative. And I don't want to give more away, but that's the premise of this show.
That's fun. And I did when I was on, because I was telling you, I was when I'm on the road, I mix up what I'm watching. I don't just watch the Star Treks I need to watch to record Code 47. But I was on Netflix watching stand-up specials, and I did see this noted. So all episodes out now, I assume, like a 10.
It's Netflix. Kind of all episodes are out.
Gotcha.
I will say the show. The writing is pretty bad. It's not clever. There's a lot of jokes that are kind of like, did you even try? It's got it's got a couple like side characters who are kind of like supposed to be the comedic bent of the show.
Yeah.
I forgot the one woman. She's LGBTQ, kind of got curly hair, kind of Southern accent. She's done stand up. She's done stand up stuff. She's okay. Her stuff is just kind of like, wow. As a comedian, I think she should feel embarrassed that she actually said these things, because it's like, I bet she could have wrote better lines for herself.
Well, I would really like to know who it is, because there is one LGBTQ comedian, kind of heavy set with curly blonde hair.
Yes,
that's the same one.
her.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, she's in the Southern accent. I know exactly.
Yeah,
who it is.
yeah. I mean, she's a funny person, and
the stand-up lands, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah. The cast. I'm trying to remember her name. I just look it through really quick.
Can't remember. But I watch a lot of.
It's got Gabriel Luna in it too. It's got Jay Baruchel, so it's got some good actors. Fortune Feimster. Feimster is her name.
I'm not even sure. I watch a lot of just on YouTube. I get thrown clips of Netflix is a Joke, which is a series they have, and I see her on there. So
yeah. So you're right on the person. I'm assuming we're on the same page. But yeah, it's just definitely by the numbers. If you've seen True Lies, it kind of hits that. Just less well done, because you don't have like a great director like James Cameron behind it. The accent feels like it's done on a budget. You see this stuff coming through, and yeah, it seems like this was more for a paycheck and like, hey, we just need content than anything else. So and it was also there's a biography or documentary on the history of Arnold where he's involved in on Netflix going on right now. And I'm actually probably more interested in that, because I think it's his career and James Cameron's interviewed, like all these people are interviewed because of it. They talk about like
James Cameron,
how he got pitched to be. It was funny, Charlie, because they were talking about like that originally it was supposed to be in Terminator, it was going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there was another actor, and I'm like, really? It's very fun documentary. So I watched a little bit of that. That was better. So that's a better thing to spend your time on than Fubar.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Then finished American-Born Chinese. This became a ritual during dinner. We watched this. And cool. Yes. And we fell in love with the series. It does have its cheesy moments. It is on a Disney Plus budget.
There you go.
But it's based on, and I'm going to read the trade now because it's essentially wrapped up, and I want to and it ends on a cliffhanger, which I was not sure that was. And I asked Kristen, like, is that in the novel? She goes, nope, they're just expanding. And I'm like, okay, I get that. That's kind of cool. Can do more things with this world that they've created, which is kind of neat. It has a lot of touching moments. I will say there's a great redemption arc for Ke Huy Quan, who essentially, Charlie, he plays an Urkel-like or Balki Bartokomous character in this. And it kind of done in the 80s, and they kind of revisit that character, and it's kind of talking about what it means to be a hero and things like that. And I thought it was really well done. There's a lot of great touching moments. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So I think if you can overlook some of the quirky and cheesy bits, there's a lot of fun to be here. And I think it's a really good show. I don't know if we'll get a second season, because Disney Plus, as you know, they've canceled Willow. They've done other things. So I hope
tough. I
hope this makes it though.
Line. Yeah, I hear you. All right. Yeah. Unleash this last one, because
so Charlie, this is kind of like a teaser for something I am doing. So just to let you guys know, there will be a new show coming on Patreon. It's going to be called Fansplaining. So this is kind of exclusive, and it's going to be where I'm interviewing people that are fans of something, and they tell me why. Kind of give me their history. Kind of like maybe the.
Excuse me, I'm right here.
Transformers. So
no, not about this, but everybody's heard my shit.
So my first episode will be about Transformers, and while I am a fan, there are people that have bigger fandom. They've covered it throughout the years. They're fans of like almost all of it, and they find the good along with the bad, and they persevere. So we're going to be going into it.
That's what I do with the Facts Geek Life. It's good, it's the bad. But anyway.
Exactly. So it's going to be all aspects of it, kind of like how did you get into it, but also like your favorite parts, all these different things, and kind of like what's the most recent thing and what would you recommend as a big fan. So kind of doing those things. And Transformers will be our first episode. We have a person that Charlie, you and I used to podcast with a lot. That person is doing their own thing. And it's going to be unique because they have a different presence on the screen when they do their content these days, kind of like a VTuber. If you've ever seen it, where they use an avatar in themselves, it's kind of a cool thing. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Kind of like when we played around with, what was it, Zoom, where you could change your face, or it's like those avatars on Apple. It's kind of like that. Yeah. So the VTubers. So that's going to be my first episode, but I will just give you a little tone of this, kind of encapsulate it. So Transformers Rise of the Beast, I saw it yesterday. I almost fell asleep during it. I don't do that in movies.
I'm telling you, it happens.
No, that happens to you in good movies, Charlie. This happens to me in movie. You said
it's unqualified. I don't know.
Yes.
But anyway, all right. Fell asleep in it, so I'm thinking maybe not rousing at the beginning.
At the beginning, this I will say it's between. I'd say this movie is. There's not much there unless you're a big Transformers fan. Even if you're a big Transformers fan, I'll be curious to see what the person I'm going to talk to thinks about the movie as a whole. If you didn't like Bumblebee, this movie is definitely not for you. If you like Bumblebee,
but I did.
This is not as good as Bumblebee, but I will say it's not as over the top crazy Bay-rific. So it's in between. So this is a movie that I would say don't rush to see it in the theaters. I would say see it on streaming because it'll be on, what is it, Universal maybe? I can't remember who made this movie, to be honest.
No, they're, and that's Paramount.
They're Paramount. So
Paramount Plus.
It will come there eventually. I would say see it there. But
so it's not an IMAX spectacular. You got to see it on the big screen because
I didn't think the action was that impressive.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was. And I think the problem with Bay movies, so much was happening. I couldn't track the action. Yeah. I couldn't tell what was going on, especially with robots that are still kind of not iconic looking because they kind of taken away their color and their shine. Right. So, but there is one point, Charlie, I will say, like, I think will be highly interesting to you at the very end of the movie. But I don't want to say anything else.
No. John jumped out and spoiled it for me because he said, "Well, you want it spoiled?"
Okay.
And I I could care less if I see this.
Did he see a story or something about it?
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, because John didn't see it either.
Okay.
And it was an affirmative eye roll for me. But if you enjoy that kind of thing.
But I will say this movie set in 1994.
So
the needle drops are a little
10 years after Bumblebee, if I'm not mistaken.
Roughly, yeah.
80s. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think some of the robots are better than others. The human element is much better than the previous films, except for Haley Steinfeld. There you go.
Not Steinbrenner. That was the baseball guy.
Exactly. She is obviously high mark. I think she was great. The cast is much better, I think. But once again, there were touch points that I liked. But if you're not a hardcore Transformers fan, I think it is what it is. And it's a mixed bag and not as good as Bumblebee. That's the best way to say it. But better for me than the Bay films.
That is absolutely fair. All right, cool. Well, with that, it is time to stiff these guys yet again on the check. We got to get out of here. The Air Qantas app is out. The Thunderdome and Hologram Tina do await us, and we are revisiting one of our classic games this week. So let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're going back to an oldie but a goodie game, and that is the IMDb plot keywords. Yes, the name is complex, but the game isn't. Very simple. The goal of this is use the plot keywords with the IMDb that explain a movie. So it might be like Indiana Jones. It'd be like adventurer, relic, annoying girlfriend, things like that. And then you eventually... I am speaking those keywords to Charlie, and Charlie will have to guess. It's fairly easy. Just go to IMDb, put in the name of a movie, put plot keywords. It'll take you there, and you can play this game with anybody.
This is great. And now I have mine selected, and I'm going to go ahead and pitch to you first. But I was looking at it, and they've changed it since last time we did this. It has them ranked by amount of helpfulness. So all I did was scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to read up instead of reading down.
Oh, that's a good point. So there's a sort by relevance or alphabetical. So I'm just going to do alphabetical.
No. I did it by relevance, and it put helpful. So I'm going to read you all the ones that say helpful 1 out of 5. So it's going to make it challenging for you.
I just thought by going alphabetically, it'd be like, okay, I'm not going in any order except how they're I'm going alphabetical.
Maybe. So. Yeah. All right. Well, get ready because I'm going to pitch to you. Are you ready?
For everyone playing along, we're doing 90s genre. So this could be anything in the genre, which is science fiction, fantasy. I don't know, like noir. I mean, I don't know how far genre goes.
I think science fiction fantasy is fine. So, all right. Are you ready for the pitch?
I am. So Charlie's going to
Okay.
read off the plot, and I have to guess, and I can guess as many times as I want.
Yes, there's no limit. All right, let's do it. Okay, here we go. First guess. First item. Human shield. Oxygen. Black comedy. Impalement. I like that. Surrealism. Uzi, which I assume refers to the handgun. Shootout. Good versus evil. One-man army. Hotel. Okay. Blood splatter. Fictional war. Oh, I don't let now we're getting to the end. I'm skipping this next one. Rebel. Virtual reality.
Ooh.
Torture.
Oh, boy.
Female warrior. We're still in the ones, too. People who didn't find it helpful. Profanity. That doesn't help. Warrior. Wisecrack humor. Wisecracking, I assume. Combat. And I apologize for looking away, listeners. I'm reading it off my other screen.
Absolutely.
Combat. Gun battle. Street shootout. Gunfight. Resistance fighter. None of this is helping, huh?
Well, I trying to remember when the movie came out. So I'm thinking.
Okay. You're thinking of a movie?
I am thinking of a movie.
It's definitely in the 1990s.
It's not Terminator 2, is it?
No. Woman fighting a woman. Heroine, as in a female hero.
Not the drug.
Not the drug. Villain. Evil woman. Misunderstanding. Oh, so it's Three's Company. Alien. Now, these tend to get a little easier, so I'm going to try to skip over. Dystopia. We have a brothel. We have a bar. We have a secret agent. Cyberpunk.
Oh, is this Total Recall?
Yes.
Okay, I was
just about
Human
to get
Shield.
into these next ones were bad. We had female frontal nudity, breast fondling, and three-breasted woman. It would have been all the way.
The fondling part I don't remember, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, with the
evil woman, that'd be Sharon Stone, correct?
The three-breasted woman was actress Lycia Naff, who had a bit part in Star Trek: Next Generation.
I was going to say it always comes back to the 6 degrees of Star Trek should be a game you guys played early on.
She showed up in Lower Decks as well as a Starfleet captain. So that's me.
Me!
Yay, you!
I win.
Go for it.
Okay. This is great because I'm going alphabetically. 1990s, of course. Ooh, that one's too close. Address book.
Okay.
Apartment. Artist. Betrayal. Blockbuster.
You've Got Mail.
Bright Light. Cameo. Charlatan. Chick flick.
And it's a genre film?
City.
Okay.
Computer cracker. Not a hacker. A cracker.
So it's not hackers?
No. Corruption. Couple. Crying. Cult film. Damsel in distress.
Natural Born Killers.
Danger. Dance. Deception.
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction.
Drug dealer.
Pulp Fiction. No.
Embezzlement. Oh God, this is. I don't even want to say this one.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Erection showing through clothes.
So is this There's Something About Mary?
No, it's not a comedy genre. So that's not
okay.
the genre of comedy is not included. So famous scene, famous score, fatal car accident.
Oh,
Fear.
Forrest Gump.
Female artist. Remember genre.
Because I'm really just a
Fire
sensitive
escape.
artist.
Frantic. Friend. Funeral. Good versus evil. Goodbye. Graveside service, grief. Gun, gunfire, gunshot, gunshot wound, alphabetically. Heaven,
Wow. All
hell,
the guns.
hit by a car, home intruder, hugging,
Hugging a home intruder.
impalement again.
Impalement is a great one.
It's very, very heavy. Investigation, invisibility, kicking a can, kiss.
Let's get back to what we consider genre, because now
Sure.
I'm like, okay, so genre absolutely science fiction fantasy.
I know, because if I give you too much of the genre elements, it will be a little too clear. I'm going to try to find something. Out of body experience, passing through a wall, possession.
Ghost.
Bingo!
Yay! There we go.
It is a genre because I'm trying to stay away from like supernatural, ghost.
Where
and,
the hell was there a boner in this movie? I'm thinking about this.
I think it might be the guy. Remember the guy that was the bad guy?
Tony Gold.
Yes,
Tony,
it might have been him where he was maybe because was he trying to hit on Demi Moore at the time?
Yeah, that was he tried to.
I'm guessing that's probably what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was. Ghost. Na na na.
Yes,
na, na,
yes.
na,
Well, that's a
na,
famous
na.
song. Yeah.
At least
So
you didn't say pottery.
Yeah, exactly. That was part of
That's
like.
got to be further down. Yeah.
I don't know if alphabetically was helpful or not because it's
No.
intermixed with relevancy.
Well, I liked that with the relevance. I read
From
all
bottom
the
up.
way up, but those ones that were voted one for relevance were clearly no help. So it was because when I got you got it right before I got to breast fondling, which that was the and then the three-breasted woman, which is a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway.
As far as I know, there's not many of those creatures in any other type of genre.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a lot of three breasts. Well, this was good. And again, this is one of our regular games. We play these on a schedule so that we don't do them too often. So this one goes back into the can. I don't have the schedule or the grid up, so I don't know what's next. But we tried to slip these in between, not busy periods because we didn't have a movie to talk about this week or some burning topic. But
absolutely. Yeah.
But
so,
again, yes, you can always play at home.
And if you got it before we did, let us know.
Yeah, please add us over on Twitter at Secret Friends U, or hit us up on our Discord. And with that, that's the end of the show, friends. As always, thank you for joining us. Todd, where do people find you out there?
Oh, they follow me at Toxtra for all the fun in the world of video games and such, sports and things like that. Obviously, the football season, we're getting all the player stuff going on, so I'm very excited about that. But actually, I've been watching the NBA Finals, too, so I may even peek about that because it's on ABC, and I can watch that through my Tableau. But other than that, all things Secret Friends Unite. Obviously, the best way to support us is to go to patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Check us out, get a free trial. If you like it, stick around. If you can't afford it, it's not in your budget, tell people about it. And then also rate our podcast, subscribe on YouTube. And if you want all of our content, go to secretfriendsunite.com.
You got it. And you can, of course, find me on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. My lovely wife, April, and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey, one of the biggest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. I also run Region 13, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you are a Trekker there or anywhere, please visit our website or find us on all socials. Drop us a line, and I would love to connect you with Trekkers where you live. Hot young singles in your area? No, Trekkers. Friends, again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you as always that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Whoopi Goldberg is a national treasure.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.